Why among the 100 interpretations of the Bible, a realistic one cannot ever be discussed? For example, feeding people with fish and bread. There was a creek nearby infested with carp, and everybody listened to Jesus as their leader thus spoke of. "Grab your fishing rods, lads, we're gonna have some grilled carp today." And the bread from the story similarly came from the group walking up to a nearby field of wheat, fetching some wood and flat stone, and baking bread. Would Christians even entertain what is reasonably, factually, and statistically the most likely event in that tale? Or do we have to accept that a miracle occurred for no reason at all? Story of Samson. A tale to prevent soldiers and fighters from having sex with camp ladies before battle or while on campaign. Doesn't it make all the sense in the world for this to be the case, instead of some contrived glorification of God's plan? Commandments. Just rules and laws that Israelites summarized while on their journey to conquer some land for themselves. I have no clue why we would want to romanticize it with anything else. It's just rules for their Israelite society, as they allegedly were previously slaves and had no inkling or a clue about the law. In truth, they were a series of tribes that unified eventually, but whatever. It's so opaque and apparent that those were simpler rules for themselves, not some God-given bullshit. Like, who would even argue with me on that point without 100% of pure delusion? They had no common law and had to create law because crime kept happening and people were angry. Simple. Adam and Eve. Establishing mythical common ancestry of the newly merged tribe of Israelites. Brilliant move by rabbis. Justification for favoring men to take the role of leaders by painting women as unworthy. Again, a brilliant move. Warning against trickery from outside forces, treason coming from those nearest to you, infidelity, and so on. Amazing lesson to teach. Disobedience to authority shall be punished by exile, because God exiled your ancestors. We can exile you with no problem. Good for keeping peasants on a short leash. It goes and goes. I honestly read the Bible and viewed it as a collection of stories meant as lessons. Ancient word of mouth spoken in taverns, codified eventually by a group effort of random scribes from towns that hosted the public speaking events of Jesus and his troop. Yes, I call apostles a troop, and they were most likely a simple circus act in which the alleged students ask dumb questions and Jesus answers with prepared, seemingly wise words. That makes all the sense in the world. How illiterate people scammed money and resources off naive villagers, and how they were remembered decades after. Nobody had seen such a performance before, so it stayed as a legend. God is Yahweh, and just because a failed rabbi got executed by other rabbis for questioning the dogma, gives Jesus no validity at all to split Judaism and his troop of clowns to proclaim a new faith. I don't quite get why Europeans adopted this foreign god coming from the Middle East. Were we always a bunch of pathetic traitors to our ancestors and the land we inhabit as Europeans? Maybe. Maybe Europeans have no backbone, no spine, as we ditch so-called pagan gods, just like now we are ditching Christianity for Islam, also coming from the Middle East. It is a treason and weakness that Rome abandoned Jupiter, who gave them victory and strength, for Jesus, who gave them destruction and plagues. Is it a coincidence that Yahweh sent plagues and barbarians to Europe only after Jesus split the faith? I think not, right? Failed joke, but whatever. I wish priests of Juno, Neptune, or Minerva came up with a book before Jesus was born. That's all. Maybe I will make more videos about biblically realistic stories and explain them and their lessons and motivations behind their codification in plain words later. First statement. I look at the Bible and all other religious texts from a hyper-realistic perspective of its stories meant as lessons for the uneducated and as a tool for the upper classes who allowed the book's propagation to keep power. Second statement. It is pretty easy to find a reasonable explanation for all of the miracles. Substitute all supposed words of God for the words of simple advice. Assign clear motives meant to enhance the authority of priests or other high classes of society. Keep morals of city dwellers from degenerating due to increased alienation between strangers compared to small village communities, and so on. Third statement. How I want to venerate gods of old, European gods, strong gods, slain by traitor descendants who in their wretchedness and ignorance follow this foreign Middle Eastern invasion of subversive religion and forgot all traditions of their own just to become neo-Israelites and kiss the feet of an illiterate scam artist of different ethnicity.